Commander Kim Juno pressed his face against the cold metal of his ship's viewport and stared into the endless darkness of space. The stars looked different out here, so far from Earth that even the sun was just another tiny dot of light. Exploration vessel, the Eternal Dawn, had been his home for 3 months as he mapped the outer edges of human territory. Now it was going to be his tomb. The control panel in front of him flickered with red warning lights. Life support critical, oxygen at 15%. Hull breach in sections 4 through 7. The words blurred together as Juno tried to focus through his growing headache. The lack of oxygen was making him dizzy, but he forced himself to stay alert. He had maybe 2 hours left, probably less. It had all gone wrong so quickly. The Vexter ships had come out of nowhere, their black holes sliding through space like predators in the night. Juno had tried to run, but as small exploration, the vessel was no match for their fighters. They had torn through his ship's defenses like paper, leaving him crippled and drifting in the void. Juno's fingers shook as he reached for the emergency beacon. The bright red button seemed to mock him as he pressed it. The signal would travel for years before reaching the nearest human outpost, and by then he would be long dead. Still, he had to try. Someone needed to know what happened out here. Someone needed to know that the Vexstar were closer to human space than anyone had realized. The beacon, activated with a soft beep, then fell silent. Juno leaned back in his pilot's chair and closed his eyes. The ship's heating system had failed hours ago, and the cold was seeping through his uniform. He could feel his body starting to shut down, conserving what little energy remained. That's when he heard it. Strange humming sound, barely audible above the ship's dying systems. Juno opened his eyes and looked at his scanner display. There, hidden beneath the background radiation of space, was an energy signature unlike anything he had ever seen.
Oh.
It pulsed with a rhythm that seemed almost alive. Calling to him through the darkness, with effort, Juno pulled himself upright and began working the controls. His training at the Earth Space Academy had taught him to recognize hundreds of different energy types, but this was completely new. The pattern was too complex to be natural, too organized to be random. This was technology, but not human technology. As he traced the signal's origin, Juno's breath caught in his throat. The energy signature wasn't coming from a single source. It was everywhere, spread across the galaxy in a vast network of invisible pathways. The readings showed conduits of pure energy stretching between star systems, connecting distant worlds in a web of communication that spanned the entire known universe. Impossible, Juno whispered, his voice barely audible in the silent cockpit. How long has this been here? The network was old, older than human civilization, older than recorded history. Whoever had built it possessed technology far beyond anything Earth had ever dreamed of. But the most amazing thing was that it was still active. After countless millennia, the ancient communication system was still functioning, still carrying messages between the stars. Juno's engineering mind began to work through the possibilities. If he could find a way to tap into this network, he could send a message anywhere in the galaxy, not just to Earth, but to every world connected to the system. The thought excited him even as his body grew weaker, working quickly. Juno began rerouting power from every non-essential system on his ship. The lights went out, leaving him in darkness, except for the glow of his computer screen. The artificial gravity failed, causing him to float in his chair. Even the water recycling system shut down as he channeled every available joule into his communication array. His oxygen was running out faster now, but Juno didn't care. Incredible. Something that could change everything. With trembling hands, he began to record a message, pouring his heart into words that would travel farther than any human voice had ever gone. He spoke of Earth, the blue world that had given birth to his species, described the mountains and oceans, the cities and forests, the billions of people who called it home. He told of humanity's struggles and triumphs, their wars and their peace, their failures and their dreams. He spoke of their curiosity, their drive to explore and discover, their refusal to give up even when faced with impossible odds. As his vision began to blur, Juno channeled the last of his ship's power into the transmission. The ancient network accepted his message, carrying it across the galaxy at speeds that defied understanding. His words joined the countless others that had traveled these pathways over the ages, adding humanity's voice to the eternal conversation. Between the stars, let them know, Juno gasped as the last of his oxygen ran out, that we were here, that we mattered. The transmission burst across the galaxy, carrying the dying words of one human into the vast unknown. Supreme Counselor Velthane was examining trade reports when the alert chimed through his crystal chamber. The ancient being had ruled the Kithran Empire for over 2,000 years, and very few things could surprise him anymore. This message was different. It had come through the sacred network, the ancient communication system that connected all advanced civilizations across the galaxy. The message was rough and filled with static, clearly sent by someone with primitive technology. Velthane's 6 eyes narrowed as he read the origin point: the third planet of a small yellow star, in a sector that most civilizations had marked as unimportant. The species there had barely learned to travel between their own planets, let alone access the sacred network. This must be a mistake, Velthane muttered, his voice creating harmonic tones that filled the chamber. How could such a primitive species reach the network? But as he listened to the transmission, Velthane found himself leaning forward in his floating throne. The voice belonged to someone called Commander Kim Juno, and he was dying. The humans. Breathing was labored, his words sometimes unclear, but his message was powerful. He spoke of his people with such love and hope that it made Velthane's ancient heart stir with forgotten emotions. The human described a world of blue oceans and green forests of creatures that flew through the air and swam in the depths. He spoke of his people's struggles to survive, their wars and conflicts, but also their incredible ability to work together when faced with danger. Most importantly, he spoke of their dreams to explore the stars and meet other intelligent life. What struck Velthane most was how the human faced his death. There was no anger, no bitterness, no calls for revenge against the enemies who had killed him. Instead, Kim Juno used his final moments to share the story of his species with the galaxy. He wanted others to know that humans existed, that they mattered, that they had something valuable to offer the universe. On the crystal world of Proxima 7, crystalline entities had been meditating for 1,000 years. Their minds were linked in a vast network of pure thought, contemplating the mysteries of existence. They rarely paid attention to the physical world, but Kim Juno's message broke through their meditation like a stone thrown into still water. The entities shared thoughts at the speed of light, analyzing every word of the human's transmission. They were fascinated by the concept of sacrifice without reward. In their long existence, they had seen countless species fight for survival, but few who would give their lives simply to tell others about their people's potential. This species is worthy of attention, the collective mind of the entities decided. They possess something rare in the galaxy. Far away in the Outer Rim, the warrior poets of the Xander clans were preparing for their evening ceremonies. These proud beings valued courage above all else, and their culture was built around heroic tales and brave deeds. When Kim Juno's message reached their homeworld, the entire clan stopped their preparations to listen. The clan leader, scarred veteran named Corax, felt tears running down his face as he heard the human's words. Here was a warrior who faced death with dignity, who thought not of himself, but of his people. The human's courage reminded Corax of the ancient heroes in their oldest stories. "Gather the elders," Corax commanded. "This human speaks like the heroes of old. His people may be primitive, but they have the heart of true warriors." Even the coldly logical Synthesis Collective, a race of beings who had replaced their emotions with pure logic, found themselves affected by the transmission. They analyzed Kim Juno's words with their vast computer networks, trying to understand why this message created such unusual responses in their circuits. The lead processor, Unit 7742, ran the analysis 17 times before reaching a conclusion. "This human demonstrates optimal resource allocation," it announced to the collective. "He sacrifices personal survival to increase species survival probability. This is highly efficient behavior. Back on Earth, Dr. Park Hannah was working late in her xenobiology laboratory. She had been studying the possibilities of alien life for most of her career, but had never found any real evidence that other intelligent species existed. As she reviewed data from the deep space monitoring stations, she noticed some unusual energy readings. The patterns were strange, unlike anything in the database. They seemed to be coming from all directions at once, as if the entire galaxy was suddenly alive with activity. Dr. Park frowned as she studied the readings. They looked almost like communication signals, but that was impossible. There was no known technology that could transmit across such vast distances. It's probably just background. Radiation, she said to herself, filing the data away for later analysis. She had no idea that her world had just become the most talked about topic in galactic councils across the stars. The transmission continued to spread through the sacred network, reaching civilizations that had existed for millions of years. Species that received Kim Juno's message found something in it that spoke to them. Some were moved by his courage, others by his hope, and still others by his love for his people. The humans' words had done more than share information. They had planted seeds of respect and curiosity in alien minds that had previously considered humanity beneath notice. The galaxy was beginning to see Earth not as a primitive world, but as the home of a species with incredible potential. The council chamber was built inside a hollow asteroid, hidden in the darkness between star systems, where no one would think to look. Ancient beings from across the galaxy had gathered here, their forms so different that some could barely exist in the same atmosphere, but they all shared one thing in common. They had all heard Kim Juno's message. Admiral Zarvesh of the Kithrin fleet stood at the center of the chamber, his tall blue form casting strange shadows under the dim lights. Around him floated holographic displays showing human colonies scattered across nearby star systems. The images revealed small settlements on distant worlds, mining operations on asteroids, and research stations exploring the edges of human territory. "Look at them," Zarvesh said, his voice carrying the weight of centuries. "They build their little outposts with such hope, completely unaware of the dangers that surround them. The Vexstar have already marked every human settlement for destruction." A creature made of living crystals spoke next, its voice like music. The human called Kim Juno spoke of his people's courage and determination. But courage alone cannot stop the Vexstar war fleets. The council had been meeting for weeks, ever since Juno's transmission had reached their worlds. The message had stirred something in these ancient beings, a desire to act that they had not felt in millennia. The human sacrifice had shown them something precious and rare in the galaxy, a species that valued hope over fear, that chose to build rather than destroy. "The question remains," announced the elder of the Synthesis Collective, its mechanical voice echoing through the chamber. "Do we intervene? Our laws have always forbidden interference with developing species." Admiral Zavesh activated another display, showing the massive Vexstar fleet massing at the edge of human space. The Vexstar follow no such laws. They see humans as a threat to their expansion and plan to eliminate them before they can grow stronger. "If we do nothing, Kim Juno's people will be extinct within a decade." The debate continued for hours, but eventually, the council reached a decision. They would protect humanity, but they would do it in secret. The humans needed to earn their place in the galaxy through their own strength. Just as Kim Juno had believed they could, Dr. Yoon Myra had been working on humanity's first deep space research station for 6 months, and she was starting to notice strange things. The station orbited a gas giant at the edge of human territory, monitoring space for any signs of alien activity. What she saw in the data didn't make sense. "Asteroid field in Sector 7 has completely changed," she reported to her supervisor during their weekly meeting. 3 weeks ago, there were thousands of rocks on a collision course with the shipping lanes. Now they're gone. Her supervisor, Dr. Kim Taeho, looked at the data with confusion. "Asteroids don't just disappear, Mira. Maybe your instruments are malfunctioning." But Mira had checked the instruments dozens of times. The readings were correct. Something had moved those asteroids, something with technology far beyond human capabilities. She had also noticed strange energy signatures appearing and disappearing throughout the system, like ships using cloaking devices that humans had only dreamed of. What Dr. Mira couldn't see were the invisible guardian vessels that patrolled human space. Ships from a dozen different civilizations worked together in perfect coordination, their advanced technology keeping them hidden from human sensors. They cleared dangerous debris from shipping routes, disabled hostile alien probes before humans could encounter them, and quietly eliminated threats that could have destroyed human colonies. Captain Lee Doyen of the Earth Defense Force was having his own concerns. His patrol ship, the New Soul, had been assigned to protect human colonies in the outer systems. Over the past few months, he had noticed an unusual pattern of lucky breaks that had saved human lives. "Sir, I'm telling you, something is wrong," he reported to Admiral Park during their secure communication link. "Last week, a group of unknown ships approached the mining station at Kepler 442. Our sensors showed them powering weapons. But then they just ... stopped. Their ships went dark and drifted away." Admiral Park's tired face filled the screen. "Maybe they were just scanning the station, Captain. Not every unknown contact is hostile." But Captain Lee had seen the tactical data. The alien ships had been in perfect attack formation, their weapons charged and ready. Then, for no apparent reason, they had shut down completely. Something had stopped them, something the humans never saw. Similar incidents were happening across human space. Survey ships that should have been destroyed by hostile encounters somehow survived when their enemies' weapons mysteriously failed. Colony ships that should have been lost in asteroid storms found their paths miraculously clear. Human explorers who ventured into dangerous regions returned with stories of incredible luck and narrow escapes. The Guardian Alliance worked in complete secrecy, following the wisdom they had learned from Kim Juno's message. The human had believed that his species needed to prove themselves worthy of joining the galactic community. The Guardians would protect them from extinction, but they would not rob them of the chance to earn their place through courage and determination. In the hidden council chamber, Admiral Zarvesh monitored the protection efforts with satisfaction. The humans were growing stronger every day, expanding their territory and developing their technology. They faced each challenge with the same spirit that Kim Juno had shown in his final moments. "He was right about his people," Zarvesh said. "Quietly they have something special, something worth protecting." The Guardians watched, protected, and waited for the day when humanity would be ready to take its place among the stars. The alarm sirens screamed through the corridors of New Busan Colony as Captain Cho Woojin raced to the command center. The settlement had been humanity's proudest achievement, a thriving city of 50,000 people built on a world with purple skies and twin suns. Now it was about to become a battleground. "Report," Captain Cho shouted as he burst through the doors of the defense headquarters. Lieutenant Park Jin looked up from her scanner display, her face pale with fear. "Sir, we have multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace. The signatures match. Vexstar warships, at least 30 of them.
Oh.
They're heading straight for us." Captain Cho felt his stomach drop. His defense fleet consisted of only 8 ships, small patrol vessels that were never meant to face a full invasion force. The Vexstar had finally come to finish what they had started when they killed Commander Kim Juno months ago. "All ships, this is Captain Cho," he broadcast to his tiny fleet. "Form up in defensive formation. We're going to buy the colony time to evacuate." The human ships moved into position between the colony and the approaching enemy fleet. Captain Cho watched the tactical display as the Vexstar warships grew larger on his screen. Each enemy vessel was twice the size of his flagship, armed with weapons that could tear through human shields like paper. "Sir, the colony needs at least 6 hours to evacuate everyone," reported his communications officer. "We only have enough ammunition for maybe 2 hours of combat." Captain Cho nodded grimly. "Then we'll have to make every shot count. All ships, prepare for battle." The first wave of Vexstar fighters came screaming out of the enemy formation, their dark holes gleaming in the light of the twin suns. Captain Cho's gunners opened fire, their laser cannons creating bright streaks of light across the purple sky. Several enemy fighters exploded in brilliant flashes, but more kept coming. "Direct hit on the Daegu," reported the tactical officer. "She's losing power and falling back." Captain Cho watched helplessly as one of his ships drifted away from the battle line, smoke pouring from its damaged hull. The Vexstar were just too strong, their weapons too powerful. But then something strange happened. Engineer Im Soo-young was working frantically in the engine room of the flagship when she noticed something impossible. "Captain, our shields are holding at 90%, she reported over the COM system. "That's impossible, sir. We've taken at least a dozen direct hits." Captain Cho frowned as he looked at his own readings. The engineer was right. His ship should have been destroyed by now, but somehow their defenses were holding. "Are you sure the readings are correct?" "Yes, sir. It's like something is reinforcing our shield generators from the outside." Across the battle zone, similar miracles were happening. The human ship Incheon was surrounded by 6 Vexstar fighters, their weapons blazing. The ship should have been destroyed instantly, but the enemy laser beams seemed to lose power at the last moment, striking the human shields with only half their normal strength. Captain Lee Min-ho of the Busan noticed that his targeting computer was working with incredible accuracy. "I'm hitting targets that should be impossible shots," he reported to Captain Cho. "It's like the computer knows where the enemy ships are going to be." The battle raged for hours, but gradually the tide began to turn. The Vexstar ships found their weapons failing at crucial moments. Their targeting systems malfunctioned, causing them to miss easy shots. Most mysteriously, several enemy vessels simply shut down completely, their crews apparently unable to restart their systems. Commander Vexstar of the Vexstar fleet watched the battle with growing frustration. His forces should have crushed the human defenders in minutes, but somehow the primitive species was holding their own. His most advanced warships were being outfought by vessels that looked like they were held together with spare parts. "Is happening to our weapons?" he demanded of his chief engineer. "Unknown, Commander. The systems show no damage, but they keep losing power at random moments. It's like something is interfering with our energy flow." Engineer Im Soo-young was now certain that something was helping them. Her instruments detected energy signatures that matched nothing in human databases. The readings showed massive ships cloaked nearby, their advanced technology somehow boosting human systems while disrupting Vexstar equipment. "Captain, I'm detecting at least 12 unknown vessels in the area," she reported. "They're using cloaking technology far beyond anything we've ever seen." Captain Cho was too busy fighting to fully process what she was saying. His small fleet was actually winning the battle, driving back the much larger Vexstar force. The human crews fought with desperate courage, using every trick they had learned in their short time among the stars. The turning point came when the Vexstar flagship suffered a massive system failure. All of its weapons shut down at once, leaving it defenseless. Captain Cho's gunners seized the opportunity, concentrating their fire on the enemy command ship until it exploded in a brilliant fireball. "The enemy is retreating," shouted Lieutenant Park. "All remaining Vexstar ships are jumping to hyperspace." Captain Cho couldn't believe it. They had won. His tiny fleet had defeated a force 10 times their size. But as he looked at the battle data, he knew that something impossible had happened. The human victory was real, but they had received help from unknown allies. Dr. Kong Guan arrived at New Busan 3 days later to analyze the battle data. What she found in the computer records would change everything. The energy signatures didn't match any known technology, but they were clearly artificial. Someone had been protecting humanity, and now it was time to learn who. The morning started like any other in New York City until the sky filled with ships. Dr. Sarah Chen was having her coffee when she looked out her apartment window and saw them. Massive vessels of impossible design floating silently above the city. They weren't attacking or threatening. They were simply there, waiting within hours. Similar ships appeared over every major city on Earth. The world held its breath as humanity faced its first contact with alien intelligence. But instead of invasion or conquest, the ship sent a simple message in perfect human languages. "We come in peace. Request an audience with your leaders." President Moon stood at the podium in the United Nations General Assembly, her hands trembling slightly as she prepared to make history. The Great Hall was packed with world leaders, scientists, and reporters from every nation on Earth. Today would change everything humanity thought it knew. About their place in the universe, the alien delegation entered through the main doors, and the entire assembly fell silent. They were unlike anything humans had ever imagined. The leader was tall and graceful, with blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the light. His 6 eyes were kind but ancient, holding the wisdom of countless centuries. "I am Admiral Velthane, of the Kithran fleet," he said. His voice somehow understood by everyone present, despite speaking no human language. "We represent an alliance of civilizations that spans the galaxy. We come here because of one of your Commander Kim Juno, who gave his life to share the story of humanity." A murmur ran through the assembly. Many people remembered the name from news reports months ago. Commander Juno had been lost on a deep space mission, his ship found drifting empty in the void. But how could these aliens know about him? Professor Bae Kungmin, Earth's leading expert on the possibility of alien life, leaned forward in his seat. His life's work had been preparing for this moment, but nothing could have prepared him for what he was about to hear. Admiral Velthane continued, his words carrying across the silent hall. "Your commander discovered an ancient communication network that connects all advanced civilizations. In his final moments, as his ship died around him, he used this network to send a message across the galaxy. He told us about your world, your people, and your dreams of reaching the stars." The alien leader gestured, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the assembly. It showed a map of the galaxy with thousands of connected points of light. "This is the sacred network, built by civilizations that existed long before any of us achieved space travel. Commander Juno's message traveled along these pathways, reaching hundreds of worlds in a matter of hours." President Moon found her voice. "What did he tell you?" "He spoke of a species that faced the darkness with hope," Velthane replied. "He described people who chose sacrifice over surrender, who built rather than destroyed, who looked at the stars with wonder instead of fear." His words moved us in ways we had not experienced in millennia. Another alien stepped forward, this one appearing to be made of living crystal. Its voice was like music as it spoke. "We are the crystalline entities of Proxima 7. We had been in meditation for 1,000 years, but your commander's message broke through our thoughts. We had to see if his faith in humanity was justified." A third alien, covered in what looked like metal armor, spoke next. "I am Korax of the Xander clans. We are warriors who value courage above all else. Your commander faced death with the dignity of our greatest heroes. We knew his people must possess the same spirit." The revelations continued as more aliens explained how Commander Juno's message had affected their civilizations. Each species had found something different in his words, but all had been inspired by his sacrifice and his belief in humanity's potential. "But you have been protecting us, President," Moon said, remembering the reports from the battle at New Busan. "Our ships should not have been able to defeat the Vexstar." Admiral Velthane nodded. "We formed an alliance to guard your species while you grew strong enough to defend yourselves. We cleared dangerous obstacles from your paths, disabled hostile forces before they could harm you, and provided subtle assistance when you faced overwhelming odds. But the courage you showed was entirely your own." The alien leader reached into his robes and pulled out a crystalline device that pulsed with soft light. "This contains Commander Juno's original message. His words have become sacred to us, studied, and revered across hundreds of worlds. It became the foundation for the first truly inclusive galactic civilization." He placed the device on the podium, and suddenly the assembly hall filled with the sound of Kim Juno's voice. The recording was scratchy and faded, but his words were clear. He spoke of Earth's blue oceans and green forests, of humanity's struggles and dreams, of their desire to explore the stars and meet other intelligent life. In the back of the assembly, Lieutenant Song Minho wiped tears from his eyes. He had been Juno's roommate at the Space Academy, and hearing his friend's voice again after all these months was overwhelming. Juno had always believed that humanity had something special to offer the universe, and now the entire galaxy agreed. Commander lit a beacon in the void, Admiral Velthane said as the recording ended. His faith in humanity called us to action. Now we invite you to join us as equals among the stars. Earth had risen not through conquest or superior technology, but through the power of one human's unshakable belief in what his species could become. In the darkness of space, Kim Juno's sacrifice had illuminated humanity's greatest destiny.